Hello, River City Reactor here. Obviously a little different this time around. Normally doing music, but I'm a big Hawkeye fan, one of the biggest. As you can tell, I've decorated a little bit for this video. And while I normally do music reactions, this women's basketball is the center of the world in this part of the country right now. I said I've always been a Hawkeye fan, but it's a huge deal. Playing for a national championship, the women are, in just a few hours from now. So I found a reaction video here about Caitlin Clark, obviously the star of the Hawkeyes, and probably the greatest basketball player in the country right now. So I thought I'd react to this one. It's called Can Anyone Stop Caitlin Clark? Hopefully the answer is no. We'll find out in a few hours. Hopefully celebrating a championship at that point. But let's see what this is about here. Should be lots of fun for me anyway. Hopefully it's fun for you guys too.
That's the mismatch. Oh, Caitlin Clark. Now you see her, now you don't. A deep one.
Crazy three.
You back?
I really might be Caitlin Clark's biggest fan at this point.
He can have second biggest.
You back?
I really might be Caitlin Clark's biggest fan at this point. After an incredible regular season and even better tournament run, she's still making history every game she plays. After beating Louisville in a close game, it was clear South Carolina was going to be their biggest test. And biggest test would be an understatement.
I was very worried, that's for sure. Going into that game, I think the Hawkeyes were like a 12-point underdog to the undefeated South Carolina team.
South Carolina had 5 girls over 6'3" and had over 20 more offensive rebounds than Iowa did. There's a reason this team was 36-0 on the season and on a 42-game win streak. That South Carolina team didn't lose a game for over 365 days. But that was until they ran into Caitlin Clark. With South Carolina attempting to complete the perfect season and coming off of last year's win, Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes were still able to come out on top. Caitlin ended the game with 41 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists.
Back-to-back 41-point games. She had. That's just incredible. In the quarterfinals and the semifinals.
Caitlin ended the game with 41 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists. Not to mention the fact that she's literally coming off of a 40-point triple-double. Back-to-back 40-point games during the most important...
If I recall, they said no NCAA Division I player has ever gotten a 30, let alone a 40-point triple-double in men's or women's basketball. She's one of a kind in that regard right there.
A 40-point triple-double. Back-to-back 40-point games during the most important games in March Madness. I don't even have to point out that's a record. Her and Monica Czinano combined for 59 of Iowa's 77 points. Caitlin alone accounted for over 60 of those 77 points, including every single point in the fourth quarter. There was not a single point scored in the fourth quarter that was not scored or assisted by Caitlin Clark. The game started off exactly how you wanted if you're Iowa. They came out to a really strong start on both offense and defense. They were able to hold on to that momentum and only lost the lead a handful of times throughout the game. Caitlin came up big every time they needed a bucket. She didn't have the most efficient night compared to other games, but was still doing more than enough. And that includes 4 game-sealing free throws at the end of the game. It was only fitting. Caitlin even implemented that Draymond Green guarding Russell Westbrook defense on Raven Johnson, who didn't even realize she could shoot until the fourth quarter. Caitlin actually guarded her from the paint the entire game, daring her to shoot the ball knowing she shoots 21% from 3. Even to the point where instead of actually guarding her, she literally waved her off. She's waving off a player on a team who hasn't lost a game in over a year, then proceeded to do whatever she wanted. She definitely had a couple shots that had me saying why, but if she's feeling it, then who am I to say not to shoot it? I had multiple people in my last video saying she wouldn't be able to do what she's been doing to other teams to South Carolina. Not only did she do what she does, but she scored 40 points in a win. That's all.
I even saw a copy of a tweet somewhere from a year ago where some South Carolina fan said, if she played us, she wouldn't be scoring no 30-some points. Well, a year later, she dropped 41 on him.
Also while being guarded by everybody and their mother for South Carolina. Every single person on the roster was switched on to Caitlin at one point, and she was still able to get a bucket almost every possession. She's known for these crazy threes, but even when the threes weren't falling, she was still able to be a perfect playmaker and was able to get to the basket over and over again. With the game on the line and knowing she's not shooting well, she still takes the shots she'd usually take, not letting her percentage dictate how the rest of the game would go. Her tournament run is something we've never seen before. Caitlin has a total of 161 points and 52 assists in this year's March Madness tournament. Since 2000, it's one of 6 instances when a player had 150 points and 50 assists in any 5-game span. All 6 of those instances belong to Caitlin Clark. She has scored.
Wow, let me hear that again. Did I hear that right?
Instances when this year's March Madness tournament. Since 2000, it's one of 6 instances when a player had 150 points and 50 assists in any 5-game span. All 6 of those instances belong to Caitlin Clark.
Wow. Only 6 times in the last 23 years has someone scored and assisted that much, and all 6 of those belong to her. That's an incredible stat.
She has scored or assisted on 63% of Iowa's 430 points during this run so far. She is now also the 6th player in Division I history to score 1,000 points in a single season. They even put up a graphic showing she had 36 career games with 30.
Yeah, she has 1,000 points and over 300 assists this year. And no one has ever done that before. She stands alone in that category. Just incredible.
Points to just 1 game under 10. She's putting up numbers we've never seen before and then doing it in the most entertaining way possible. Back-to-back 40-point games, the most points in national semifinal history, and is now leading the Hawkeyes to their first national title game ever. There is nobody that has done what Caitlin Clark is.
Yeah, first national championship game ever. Only the second time I've ever been to the Final Four. And the last time was 30 years ago. That's why I'm all excited about getting to the Final Four and getting to play for the championship today.
First national title game ever. There is nobody that has done what Caitlin Clark has done, and the thought of her having another year in college is extremely scary. This isn't even her best season of college basketball. She has the entire package. Throughout the tournament, she's matched up with several stars who have played well, but Caitlin still outplayed them. The more and more meaningful these games get, the more and more Caitlin has been taking over. Again, who else is scoring back-to-back 40-point games during March Madness?
Nobody
I
ever.
mentioned this before, but Monica Sanano still only took 1 dribble going into the South Carolina game, and I really don't think she took another one in that game either. Caitlin had 2 fouls with over 7 minutes left in the second quarter, and her coach trusts her so much she basically played out the entire rest of the quarter without picking up a foul. College basketball is known for its proper basketball and schemes. Then there's Caitlin Clark, who is playing like Luka Doncic but in women's college basketball, looking to get a bucket at all times rather than setting up a play every time down the court. They face a really good LSU team in the national championship, so the show must go on.
Hopefully, she doesn't need to score 40 today, but we will see.
And right now, she is the best show in basketball. I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so please leave a like on the.
That was a cool recall of Caitlin Clark in the tournament this year. and a few other highlights in there. That was really well done. I enjoyed that. So I said, hopefully she doesn't need to score 40-some points to beat LSU today. We will see what happens in a few hours. That was a really, really cool video. I'm getting a little chilly. Let's go Hawks. This is River City Reactor. Hope you enjoyed this. I know it's a little different from my regular stuff. Until next time, goodbye and go Hawks.